Hey guys, welcome to another deck spotlight on Six Sages Gaming. This is Matt bringing you the American Incarnation deck list. As you notice on the right side, we have the sideboard as well. This has been a very interesting deck. It's one of those ones that it's been doing very well at locals, and it's still been very relevant even after the Reflect Errata. So again, for those that might not be familiar, the Reflect Errata is that you can only use reflex abilities on your turn. So this deck is really just about getting that Gwiber out as early as turn 2. Having some Thunders for the late game to finish off the last bit of damage, and using Adombroli in just absolutely sick ways. So we're going to talk about the ruler first that everyone's familiar with, go into the stone base, talk about the main board, and then finish up with going into the sideboarding options. So I hope you guys will like this one. So up first we have the ruler, Refrain. I'm sure everyone's familiar with this card, but just to give a quick overview of it, the main thing you want to be using its abilities for in this deck is for the filtering, so you can really find those Gwibers. And there's some instances where you even want to untap Gwiber just so they can't revenge swing into it. But really this is just a utility-based ruler. Even again, post-reflect errata, it still does a lot. And then on the other side we have Refrain. And again, just for those that might not be aware with this, it's great for countering spells. It's great for tutoring up that last Thunder that you need to finish off their life points. And again, it's just a very versatile ruler that really pulls this deck together. Obviously, it's not as good with the errata anymore, but I think it's still one of the top rulers in the game and something that people should definitely still be playing. Going on to our stone base, we have 4 Magic Stones of Heat Ray. Playing this because you need to be able to cast your Thunders. And we have some light card sideboard options, but mostly it's just for the Thunders in the sideboard. After that, we're playing 3 Hearths Core. You need to be able to cast those Cheshire Cats, and it's for Glimpse of Cthugha out of the sideboard. And then again, red for Thunders, because that is very, very important. And we want all our stones to be able to tap for red for Lancelot, which we do play on too sometimes. And then lastly, to finish off the stones, we have 3 of Moonshade. This is just, we need to make sure that we're hitting all our colors, so this was kind of like the last we have to run it option, just to make sure that we can play all our things on curve. So, moving on to the Resonators, starting with the 1-drops. 2 of Demon Flame. This is just good for removing Resonators when combined with Flame Sprite. So usually what you'll do is you'll ping something with Flame Sprite to get damage on it, and then cast Demon Flame to remove maybe your opponent's Gwibers or something of that nature. We play 3 Flame Sprites. This is just your very aggressive 1-drop if you don't have the Rukh Egg Cthugha combo in your hand. And also this can allow you to ping your own Rukh Egg if you're really in a bind. You know, the start of your turn, ping your Rukh Egg, untap, tap it again, kill off your own Rukh Egg. Generally you don't want to be doing that, but it's just another way to... It has swiftness and flying. So some decks were using Poison Apple as well, and that's just another way to get in a surprise 1200 damage in the air that a lot of decks can't handle right now, because now a lot of decks are running ways to deal with flyers or a lot of blockers. Speaking of that late game burn, again, we have the 4 Thunders. Not much needs to be said about this card. Deals 500 damage to J-Ruler. If you have problematic J-Ruler, you can deal 500 damage to a Resonator, or you just dome your opponent for 500 and can be very aggressively attacking their life totals. That's just a card that's pretty much always going to see play until it rotates, and we'll see play in extended formats once we have them. For Cheshire Cat, this is great for sacking to Adombroli, so you get to draw another card, and it's just another 1-drop Resonator that lets you reduce the count of Gwiber. And they also can't Thunder it in response, so if you play like Cat Gwiber, you are guaranteed to be able to resolve that Gwiber, and they can't like Thunder it, you know, the first Cheshire Cat in response to the second one, so you can't cast Gwiber on that turn. And then lastly, for our 1-drops, we have, you know, one of the key cards in the game for being able to pull off the turn 2 Gwiber combo, 4 Rukh Eggs. Casting this on Cthugha, or Cthugha on top of this, really just allows you to accelerate your deck and find maybe another Cthugha for the next turn, so you can play 1 Resonator for free essentially. You can go Cthugha, Cat, and then Gwiber for turn 2, for example. Moving on into our 2-drops, and yes, I'll just start with this one since I said it's, you know, it's technically a cast of 1, but it has Awakening, so it's really a 2-drop. This absolutely shines in this deck, so you're going to grab a little Granny with it, and it lets you basically cheat in Gwiber for a lot cheaper because it counts as 2 Resonators entering your battlefield this turn. So she really is a combo enabler that you play on 3, so you can go the cast, the Awakening, and then play Gwiber as well. So very, very good card, and we love the artwork, so it's great to see it having play. 3 Lancelot. It's still the best 2 red drop in the game. I don't think there's going to be anything coming out anytime soon that's going to contest it. And, you know, we're not running any pumps or anything, so we don't have a way to really utilize his effect other than saying reflect tap and then pumping with 2 red sources. But he is just too good of a 2-drop not to have somewhere in the deck, especially because it's a good draw at any point in the game. So, but just 3 for him because he doesn't really work towards the plan of getting that Gwiber out as early as possible. And then last but not least, we're playing 4 Heras. Just with how common Regalia is right now, and the fact that it draws a card when it kills something, which it's going to almost always destroy something when it comes into play, it lets you draw a card, find those Gwibers again, and you know, it's not the best for enabling the Gwiber play, but it lets us draw into some Thunders and draw into some other cards that are going to get us gas. And again, it lets us banish it to Adombroli to draw yet another card. So there's a lot of drawing and a lot of filtering in this deck. Speaking of the MVP himself, and he just does a lot of work for the deck for burning and drawing. Adombroli. So if sometimes we're going to banish a little red to deal 400 damage to something, we're going to banish a Cheshire Cat or Hera to draw an extra card. He really does a lot for the deck and a lot for accelerating it. And plus, he's just a 6/8, so he's a very relevant body and can block Lancelot favorably if they don't have anything like pump or response, things like that nature. So sometimes just playing this on 2 and getting out, if you're on the play, playing this on 2 and getting it in front of, your opponent's going to play Lancelot next turn, knowing that they're only on 2, you can definitely wall your opponent and save yourself a turn and 600 life points. So he does a lot for the deck. Speaking about Little Red and the, just having a big blocker is Granny. You don't ever want to draw this. If you draw it, hopefully you can put it back with Cheshire Cat, but you search with it with Little Red and give yourself a huge, huge wall that your opponent really has a hard time interacting with. Again, unless you have the Flame Sprite and, say, Demon Flame combo. So she's great as a 2-of just because we want to play her for free out of the deck. And then again, one of the probably best combo enablers for the deck, or again, combos well with Rukh Egg, is for Cthugha. Not only is this a very aggressive card, it lets you banish those Rukh Eggs for free and help lower the cost of Gwibers. Almost always still want to play this on turn 1 if possible. And then last but not least, we play 3 Gwibers, the White Dragon. So again, very important that your Resonators must stay in the field for this card to have the lowered cost. So if you go play Cthugha Cheshire Cat, in response to the Cheshire Cat, they can Thunder the Cthugha. If you don't have a buff or anything in response, you'll not have the reduced cost for Gwiber. It will cost 3 instead of the 1 light. So that's something that you very much have to keep in mind going forward. But overall, this deck can pretty consistently, even with the nerf, find that turn 2 Gwiber, or at least turn 3. And a turn 3 Gwiber is still very, very hard for a lot of decks to interact with. Not a lot of Susan in decks right now, so might as well abuse it while you can. And then because we have this deck fully put together, we'll go into some sideboard options. Now I haven't played this deck myself. The other teammates were playing it, but I can still, give a general idea of where these cards are coming in. So another Demon Flame, again, combos very well with the Flame Sprites to remove your opponent's matching Gwibers or anything that's very hard to deal with, and you can just go Thunder Demon Flame or Flame Sprite Demon Flame in a perfect world. So only one of those. One of Sign of the Future, this is for the Alice World decks, Fairy decks, anything that really wants to swarm the board and get it under your curve, which, believe it or not, does happen still. If you stumble a little bit, the Fairy decks can outswarm you. But we have quite a few cards that can interact with them favorably. Speaking of some more cards that we might want to bring in against them, we have 2 Rapid Decays. I mean, if my opponent's playing Lancelot, I'm just bringing these in. Like, Lancelot's just too good of a card right now not to have some kind of respect or some kind of answer for. So I would definitely have sideboarding some number of Rapid Decays if you have access to them in your stone base. We have 3 Glimpse of Cthugha. This is, it just does a lot. I think it's mostly in the board for like the Valentina God Arts, if I'm not mistaken, because Valentina 2.0 is still a very, very strong deck, and we have a lot of sideboard hate dedicated to it. I think there's 7 cards total, and it lets you draw a card as well. So it's definitely a good card to have just in case there's, if you have like a Razad God Art you have to face up against, you don't want to have to discard your entire hand and lose your field to. That's something to keep in mind as well. So I would definitely, if you have blue, and there's not a lot of good blue sideboarding options, so I would keep that in mind. 2 Dream of Julia, just for very good addition removal. Honestly, it's one of the best spells in the game that constantly gets overlooked. Anytime a card has different modes, draw a card, flash a guy, or destroy a field edition, you really have to keep that in mind as a solid sideboard card that you would want to bring in at some point. So that's another card. I keep saying these are cards to include if you play those colors, but I mean, they all are. Next, we have 2 Susans in the sideboard in case we see Bahamut or Sylvia, or we see our opponent's Gwibers. Because we can tutor with it off Rukh Egg, it's very important to have this in the deck. So if you're playing a Rukh Egg deck and you don't have this either main board, at least have it in your sideboard, because you're going to see Gwibers, you're going to see Bahamuts in a tournament, you're going to see these things that give him a reduced cost. So it's very, very much worth to have some number of him. And then speaking to more of our Valentina 2.0 hate, we have Blazer, which if you're not familiar, when he flips over, he can kill a J ruler, hopefully, if it resolves and if they don't have like a Valentina Zealot or something of that nature. And then because we want to make sure that they stay dead, we have 3 Death Sights. This is just to prevent them from getting imperishable, so generally you want to hold this until you have the turn to play Blazer, and then you can just surprise them with a Death Scythe Blazer combo after maybe thundering away their Zealot on their turn, and you'll be home free to get rid of that pesky Valentina. So guys, we hope you liked this deck spotlight video. It's definitely a deck that I would play at locals. I know a lot of people are tired of seeing Reflector, thinking that Reflect isn't good anymore, but I promise you Reflect is still a very, very strong ruler and something to consider. So if you guys liked the video, make sure to drop us a comment below, like the video itself, or make sure to subscribe for future Force of Will content. We did do a dual series video with this deck already, so if you haven't, make sure to check that all out on our channel. You can find it in the dual series playlist. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next 6 Sages Gaming, brought to you by Gamers Gauntlet. Have a good one.
Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to hit that like button and leave us a comment with what you thought of the video. Don't forget to subscribe to 6 Sage Gaming and check out some of the deck spotlights, dual series, and Force of Community videos that are already on the channel. We also have a Facebook and a Twitter, so feel free to find us there. Lastly, if you have a deck that you would like featured in a video, be sure to drop us a comment below. Until next time, take it easy.